Happy Tuesday, everybody! I have a great crew tonight, and we have an old face who's back and will be substituting when necessary. We want to welcome Jeremy Ballrick back to the big show. Welcome back, Mr. Ballrick.
Thank you, Scott. Good to be here. Good to see you, Candy. Nice to meet Marvin and Tom.
Nice to meet you.
Good. I like the fact that you just saved me a little bit of work and a little bit of void. That's my crew, by the way, and we have a lot of work to do. All right, with that said, okay, let's get right to it. And we are going to start off with the title that we had, The Legend of Lee Corso Lives On. After hearing Nick Saban say, "Not so fast, my friend," reminded me of Lee, not so fast, reminded me of Lee Corso. His all-time record as mascot picker is 287 and 144. His final show was the most ever watched episode at 3.5 million viewed on ESPN and ESPNU. He had 5.1 million viewers, which is the highest regular season quarter hour coverage peak ever. Then get this, FSU legend Lee Corso is expected to return to Tallahassee to be honored during the FSU Miami game per the Tallahassee Democrat. And if that isn't good enough, okay, Lee Corso picked FSU to defeat Alabama in his final college game day appearance. All right, Mr. College, Tom Shanahan, what are your thoughts about the legend of Lee Corso?
Well, that's great that he drew the great audience. He deserved it. And ESPN, I think, found a good way to phase him out because he was creating uncomfortable moments the last couple of years. And you don't want to just cast him aside.
Right.
So somehow this all came together and worked that he was able to be appreciated and celebrated. And I think it came off well. One thing I've never liked about Lee Corso, he's always been funny, but one thing I've never liked about him is when he was in Indiana, and of course Indiana pre-Kurt Singetti, Indiana, when they were a laughing stock, and they played a game against Ohio State, and they scored first. I think it was at Ohio State. And he took his entire team, and he boasted about this proudly, like it was funny years later. But took his entire team, put it in the end zone, and had them pose for a picture with a score: Indiana 7, Ohio State 0. Of course, this is in the 70s, so there was no internet for that to go viral.
Right.
But he thought that was funny. But I think he was making a laughing stock out of his own team. And it would have backfired on the internet age.
Yeah, that final game there in Paris when he picked it, the score was 31-17. But when you think about the numbers again, 287 and 144 was his mascot pick, 3.5 million viewed and 5.1 million viewers for that regular season quarter. The bottom line is this guy draws numbers. Hey, Daniel Berry, Sports Highlights. Happy Tuesday, and hello to you as well, my friend. All right, so what are your thoughts about Lee Corso, Marvin?
Legend in the area of college football. He is a part of the culture. He's established himself as part of the culture. You look forward to those Saturday afternoons, Saturday morning shows that end with him putting on the helmet. And when you look at his contributions to the game as a player, as a coach, as an analyst, I mean, we're talking about somebody with a Hall of Fame career, and I'll miss him. I'll tell you this: what I love about him the most is that whenever he picked USC at home to win, he was right. He was 17-0 with the Trojans. Every time he picked them to win in the Coliseum, they did, and I love him for that. And that's how I remember him. But sincerely, a legend in the game. Keith Jackson in his own right, to be honest with you, and he'll be missed.
Well, yeah, you ought to like him. He's 17-0 picking your Trojans.
Absolutely.
Why don't you move your head and let everybody see what you have behind you? There you go. Hail to the Trojans, 17-0. Holy moly.
Fight on.
Pete Jackson would say, yeah, we got to let you advertise your Trojans. Why not? I mean, this guy was 17-0. Don Shula was 17-0 with the Miami Dolphins. Although we have different Dolphins altogether in more ways than one. Just a little teaser as we continue on. So, yeah, but that 17-0 is pretty surreal. Candy, your thoughts about Lee Corso?
So I'm going to age myself. He started his broadcasting career back in 1987, the year I graduated high school. He has
That's
been
aging us.
broadcasting ever since. If I think about it, like I went to college, I've had how many different jobs? He's been on ESPN as an analyst since 1987. In today's day and age, that's unheard of. Like, unfortunately, well, I shouldn't say that's unheard of. For that generation, like we've had some really good long-standing broadcasters. But I don't think you're gonna see those going forward. Not as long of a career.
and
Um,
not with one network.
and exactly, like you just don't see that, and you're not gonna see that anymore. I mean, it's awesome that let's face it, we all love the little gimmicky, let's put on the helmet of the team or the mascot's head of the team that we're going to pick and stuff like that. The headgear. That was kind of cool, made it different, made it fun. You know, kudos to him for coming up with something like that and having the career that he did. Like, I can't imagine having, I mean, I've worked for, let's face it, I said I aged myself. I graduated high school, then I went to college, graduated college. I've had I've worked for 4 different financial institutions, not just one, but 4 different ones in that same course of the time that he's was with one only. So kudos to him for longevity and for going out on his kind of on his terms. I mean, he's 90, it's time for him to enjoy life.
Jeremy?
Well, it's funny you say 87 because if I remember right, that football season was the 87-88 season, correct?
I think so. Yeah, I think so because it says that he was hired back in it, he is best known for appearing on ESPN's College Game Day program from its inception in 1987
Yes,
until
so that was that August was his first show, and that was my senior year of college or high school as well because I graduated in '88. So
Well, let's
you're
just play
talking
the
about a
age.
guy who's been through all of my career changes in my life and all the jobs, including this one. He was a part of ESPN. He
Right.
became he became endearing. I think it was by his 6th year was when he started using the props and the mascot heads
Right.
and stuff like that. But he was always very passionate about what he talked about and very thorough. And I love the fact that he's 17-0 picking USC because a couple of times he picked them with that great wide receiver Detroit has, Amon-Ra St. Brown.
Yeah, absolutely.
I was waiting for that one.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, he's a goodie. He's a goodie.
I was waiting for Ballrick to slip that one in. Good job, Jeremy. Let me tell. I'll put a bow on this one. He didn't get along well with Craig James. Craig James, they showed him the door really quick. You don't have chemistry. Remember that, Tommy? That Craig James and him really they just clashed. But enter in Kirk Herbstreit, who looked at him like a father figure. Then you surround him with Reese Davis. You surround him with Desmond Howard, and Chris Fowler began it with him, and all of a sudden a personality was born. So yeah, obviously we know what he did with the Indiana Hoosiers, but don't forget he also I think coached the Orlando Renegades too, didn't he, at one point as well?
He did.
So great stuff, Lee. I'm glad you're going to have your due over at Florida State. But the reality is, yes, you do need to go out on your own terms, and that's what they did, and they were very classy about it. I can't say a lot of the other people they let go were classy, but at least you ended up going out the right way. The show was done pretty well, but without Lee Corso, they're not trying to emulate the mask headgear. They're just letting it be what it is, which is okay. He deserved to have that all to himself. A lot more to talk about here as we continue on. Okay, the only quarterbacks to beat Patrick Mahomes 3 straight times are Jalen Hurts and Joe Burrow. All right, Jeremy, what are your thoughts about that?
That's nice. I'm glad that they beat them 3 straight times. And there's another quarterback that's undefeated against them too, and he plays for these lovely Lions, Jared Goff. Beat him on that Monday night football game and also in week 1 in the 2023-24 season.
Okay, Candy?
Kudos. I mean, Patrick Mahomes is a really good, obviously he's going to go down as a really good quarterback. He's playing to a high level, but we always have to remember that it's a team sport, so it's not just him against the whole other team. It's the whole, everybody against. So it depends on the teams that you're playing. And let's face it, any given Sunday, any team can win or tie, whichever way you want to look at it.
Okay, Tommy.
Well, you take Patrick Mahomes and you put him on any team, and that team's going to be better. So a lot of it has to do, if he loses a game, a lot of it has to do with playing against a good team, not just a good quarterback. And so I think, and he's Josh Allen has been compared negatively toward him. I think everything I read about Allen is he's getting smarter about not forcing plays. And I think the Chiefs are a little bit in a decline. The Bills are still ascending. I think this might be the year that Josh Allen gets a win over Kansas City and Patrick Mahomes. But there's no denying Patrick Mahomes' talent. It's more than just a quarterback beating him.
Marvin.
I think the question itself just lets you know that, Pat Mahomes is the standard. You know what I mean? And really, the question itself just speaks to his greatness that we talk about how amazing it is that these two other great quarterbacks have had some success against him, because how crazy is that, right? Of course it's crazy because it's Pat Mahomes. And out the gate, he was baby GOAT. This guy was a Super Bowl MVP in his second, third year, league MVP in his second and third year. He reestablished and created a new standard for how we evaluate quarterbacks out the gate. He sat his rookie year for the first 16 games and came out, started his 17th, and from there has only had success going to 7 straight AFC title games. But he's the standard, and he's a victim of his own success. That's really what I hear you say when I hear that question.
Well, Patrick Mahomes is what he is. There's a reason why he's won as many Super Bowls as he had. Multi-talented guy. But I'll tell you one thing about Patrick Mahomes. He was also mentored by some good people. And one of the ones I'm going to talk about right now is a guy who was the head coach of the Florida Atlantic University Owls called Zach Kittley. And Candy and I had an opportunity to watch the FAU game against Memphis. Forget about the fact that Memphis won 55-26 because the game got out of control at the end. It has nothing to do with it. But the guy that is his quarterback down there, his name is Caden Veldenkamp. This kid went 31 for 53, 318 yards, no touchdowns, no passes, 0 interceptions, 8 for 31 yards on 1 touchdown, and he had 349 total yards. So with that said, I had an opportunity to get some questions in for not only the coach, but also the quarterback. Candy, go ahead. And also, let me preface it one way, too, that he actually worked with Cliff Kingsbury, and that was Patrick Mahomes' mentor. So when you talk about the fact that Zach Kittley was Patrick Mahomes, you work with him with Cliff Kingsbury, that says a lot about the fact that this guy can actually be the head coach, the offensive coordinator, and the quarterback coach. Not many can do that. So can you believe that? But that said, please, I have a few questions. Eddie Crit, they're glad to have you out there. Hard to take much of the Kansas City wins against Baltimore. Ravens are a mess. Oh, yeah, don't worry. Well, if we have time permitting, we'll get into that. All right, Candy, roll the tape.
So just so you know, Kittley, he was the program's assistant quarterback coach and worked closely with the future NFL MVP, Patrick Mahomes. So which clip do you want first? Does it matter?
No, just go ahead. Actually, why don't you go with the coach, and then we'll talk about the quarterback himself. I think that I got 2 questions for the coach, and we'll go with the quarterback complimenting the coach.
First and then the other one. Okay, sounds good.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you.
You're welcome.
South Florida to I was impressed when I looked at the the roster for the first time. You're the head coach, the offensive coordinator, and the quarterback coach. First of all, congratulations for doing all 3. And second of all, how do you do it?
Yeah, I mean, it starts with just people that you surround yourself with, on your staff, people that can help you in a bunch of different areas. I do clearly have a lot on my plate. But you surround yourself with certain people that help you get everything done. And I'm not a procrastinator kind of type guy in early, and I go to work and I get it done and then I leave. So I think that helps me out. But more than anything, just surround myself with the right people to help me get stuff done.
And I have a follow-up to
All right.
Okay.
That's the first
there's
question.
One.
How
Let me
does
go to
he-
the other
I should go
one.
to the other one, and then we'll all comment on all three. Okay. Excuse me.
Okay. Next one.
Zach. Let's have this in my first question, but then I want to talk about your quarterback because this guy, I'm seeing.
Just one. We got to get after it.
I know, but this is my word for it. Okay, you have one voice, 3 titles, one voice in the quarterback's ear. I saw it for the first time myself. Okay, Caden Veldkamp. Tell me what kind of a quarterback is. Looks like he's got a good arm. He can really throw it into tight coverage. 349 yards, a touchdown, no interceptions, no sack. Tell the rest of my national audience on Inside the Pigskin what this kid's like and the fact that you're able to use one voice to tie everything together with all your players. Thank you, Katrina.
Yeah, I mean, kind of just going back to what I was saying earlier, he's first and foremost, he's a great dude. Everybody in the locker room loves him. Gets along with everybody. We voted for team captains, and he had a 100% across the board vote from the team. He was the number one highly rated captain vote number. And then physically, again, he's 6'6", 235 pounds. He can run. You saw him tonight. If he needs to go run, he can run. Got a good arm. And again, I think the biggest thing, you're going to get to talk to one of my wideouts here in a second, looks like, and so you can ask him. I mean, they trust him. They know he's smart. They know that he's all about ball. He loves ball. And so he's going to do everything in his power to make sure that this team's heading in the right direction and that he's doing his job to get these guys the ball.
Thank you.
There's a coach. Now we're going to get one for the quarterback, and I'll have everybody respond.
Okay. Quarterback is coming up right here.
Great game tonight. How much has that contributed to your abilities alone in addition to the coaching staff? Because I know your head coach was maybe coaching offensive coordinator. I saw good combination. A lot of things from you coming from the guy who's an offensive minded coach.
Yeah, first of all, thank you so much. I appreciate the kind words. But Kimmy has guys running wide. I just have to find my progression. Really, like I said, it's basically even if it's a 5-yard route, 6-yard route, because we have good playmakers in our receiver and tight end and running back room. So we get the ball those guys in space, they can make something happen.
Next one, JJ.
So there you have it. Keep in mind when I talk about the Florida Atlantic University program, a couple of guys that stand out that have played there. Trey Hendrickson is currently in there. We have a column that runs every week by FAU about the players, as well as Devin Singletary. When I compare the Miami and FAU situations, I look at the fact that Miami puts people in the NFL. You go to FAU to go out there and find hidden gems. Also, another note, Miami Dolphins scouts were there and they saw this Cade Veldkamp. You never know. Since you don't know what's going to happen with Tua, they may have found themselves a player in their own backyard. Jeremy, your thoughts about what we talked about in those interviews?
Well, he gave you some insight on the team. He gave you insight on those players. I love hearing that type of stuff from a coach, and I love what he had to say. Good job by him, and great questions by you.
Thank you. Candy, you were there?
I think let's face it, FAU is not the program that Miami is. And so therefore, they don't necessarily have the same kind of money, same kind of budget. So obviously, for the head coach to be the offensive coordinator and the quarterback's coach, he's got a lot on his plate. I would think that would be a lot. But he's doing it the best job he can. I was impressed with this quarterback. His statute, he's tall, he's big. He's got a good arm. He's, the only thing is getting these guys open. And now I will say, this is the first game we saw him. There have been other games where he has thrown a number of interceptions, so he's working on that. But I thought your questions were right on, and I'm still impressed that the coach wears all those hats because, that's a lot for any one person.
Marvin?
Yeah, FAU has a proud history of coaches when you think about it. And recently, pre-NIL, Willie Taggart, Lane Kiffin, FIU was the sexy program for a while. pre-NIL in a state where there's an abundance of talent everywhere, So they were able for a while of Kiffin. I mean, they won a couple games, they won a couple games, and they were great. The problem is, again, NIL, and now a program in a state that's so rich in talent, they can't compete with the Florida States, Miami, Floridas. There's so much talent that they can get something, and with the transfer portal, they can get something as well. They're having a tough season. The coach has to wear all these hats because they don't have the money to get the kind of caliber of coach that you get out of Florida State, Florida. So if he's the offensive mastermind and he's the guy, he has to wear the hats. There's no other way around it, really. And that's how it has to go. It sounds like he has a big stud at quarterback, and he must really believe in this guy, and that's why he's making that triple investment into him.
Yeah, excellent point. And the one thing I mentioned in those interviews is you got one voice in this kid's ear with the QB coach you all see and the head coach, so that doesn't hurt. But again, the reasons you may have indicated could be financial, but as it stands right now, this is a situation they're in. They have to make the best of it. So, Tommy,
he's got to be a mature quarterback to be able to take in all that information, because the coach can't spend as much individual time with him. But if the coach, with his background, sounds like he knows, has an eye for talent, he knows how to put guys in position to win. So if he can find the sleepers, maybe he can still build a program. Lane Kiffin showed it was a stepping stone program to something bigger. But again, as it's already been mentioned, we're in a different era now with NIL, and it's different. It's going to be a lot harder for the Group of 5 schools to retain talent. However, and I'm going to slip this in, there's always a sleeper out there somewhere. And look at Ole Miss, Trinidad Chambliss from Ferris State University in Big Rapids, Michigan, my hometown. Division II quarterback, national championship, not a single scholarship offer, goes to Ferris State, wins the national title, enters the transfer portal, and now he's leading Ole Miss up the rankings. He's beat out the starting quarterback who's been Wally pipped out of a job, and they're ranked number 4. So there's always a sleeper out there. I was watching the Ole Miss game, and Greg McElroy said some of those throws that Chambliss made were off the charts.
well, just kudos to Katrina McCormick, one of the better communications people I've ever worked with. I've known Katrina since 2007, so she's really been cooperative. She's really good, not only a good PR person, but somebody I've known a while. I view her as like a very good friend as well. All right, as we continue here, let's talk about Kirby Smart's record versus the Crimson Tide. It's not very good. It's 1-7, and Georgia's 1-9 versus Bama, and they obviously took down Georgia over the weekend. It was the score candy, I don't have it in front of me, but it was Georgia's first loss in 2017. There's a 33-game home winning streak, no more. Last night we talked on 108.6's Baseball Talk that the New York Yankees had a streak of 33 straight winning seasons. Also, I should preface the fact that when we talk about the Bama situation, what you have is that Kirby Smart is 1-7 versus Bama and 107-13 versus everyone else. That's quite a dominance, isn't it, Marvin?
It is, but you have to consider, and I think it's fair to reference that the majority of those losses came to arguably the greatest coach in the history of college football, right. who had a dynasty like we've never seen, literally, Nick Saban. So, it is what it is. Listen, Georgia has been the class of college football in the last 5 years that they've been at that elite top 5, winning back-to-back national titles. They are an outstanding program, but when you're going up against the beast that Nick Saban was, everybody was taking L's. Everybody in the SEC was getting their butt kicked by Nick Saban. So Kirby Smart, who is an elite coach and who has an elite program, should sleep well at night and have no issues with the fact that he went to battle with the greatest of all time in a profession that is super competitive and has had elite coaches and elite programs over the years. Kirby lost to the best. So let's consider that when we consider his record versus Alabama.
Oh yeah.
And Joseph Olston, great comment in the chat room. When you have the horses, it's easy to coach Nick Saban at Michigan State, not so much. Great point. That's a good point, Joseph. Thanks.
Nick Saban never won a Big Ten title at Michigan State in 5 years. Mark D'Antonio won 3, the first in his 3rd season.
So there you go. I love it. I knew Tommy's going to slip that one. All right, Jeremy, go ahead.
Then that one game that he did win versus Saban was the national championship. We do have to put that in perspective too. That year, Georgia was a juggernaut.
Okay, well that's true. So all right, Candy.
So if we really go back in history, the Georgia and Alabama football rivalry goes back. The two were bordering state schools, were charter members of the Eastern Conference (SEC) in 1933 and played every season from 44 to 65. Basically, they've met 75 times. Alabama leads 45 to 26 to 4. Yes, Alabama's won the last 3. The longest streak was Alabama had 7 from 2008 to 2021. They don't play every year anymore. They used to. But they do play again next year as well.
Well, Alabama didn't blow them out. It was 24 to 21. That was your end result. There you have it. So, yeah, that's a great rivalry. There's no question about it. I know that they'll be actually going down a 9-game conference schedule and then 3. We'll see how often they play, but it's good to watch them anyways. And if they make it to the SEC championship game, there's a pretty good chance you're going to see them anyway, so it doesn't make any difference. Let's stay in the Southeastern Conference. This one was ugly. I mean, really ugly. Notre Dame travels to Arkansas for their first matchup in history. The series was introduced in 2017 with 2 games scheduled for 2020 and 25. The 2020 matchup never happened due to COVID-19 restrictions. And I'll tell you what, Arkansas probably wishes the 2025 one wasn't scheduled either because they got dumped 56 to 13. Sam Pittman was fired. Bobby Petrino will serve as an interim coach, and he's already making changes as he's gotten rid of 3 coaches. Candy, why don't you look up the 3 coaches that he's gotten rid of? But in the meantime, Marvin, you can take the lead on this.
Yeah, listen, as much as I hate to say it about those guys, because I don't really love those people in the Midwest. Notre Dame, as we say, USC. They are a good team that opened up with a really tough schedule. Had 2 early losses that were respected enough to where they were still ranked in the top 25, being 0-2. Coming off a national title run, I think that Marcus Freeman I do believe he has his program in the right direction, and I think you're going to see them finish strong. You'll see them flounder in that SC game most likely in about 3 weeks. But realistically, I think that Arkansas just walked into a buzzsaw. Notre Dame was hungry. Again, they are a good team who has opened up with a tough schedule. And, Arkansas was no competition for a team like Notre Dame, who still might be playoff worthy, if we're being honest. Okay. And then Notre Dame has, arguably the best running back in college football. I think I looked today. Love is projected to be the number 11 pick in the NFL draft. So he's an elite player playing behind, what is considered to be one of the best O-lines in the country, or at least that was the idea going into the season. And, we'll see them excel moving forward.
Tommy?
Yeah, just to clarify, I was only interjecting with my comment about Saban. I also wanted to comment on Kirby Smart. I agree. What was the talent level, Alabama versus Georgia? Alabama always had more talent. And then Kirby Smart, when he did have a great talented team, he did win a national title. So I always hate those comparisons about somebody's record against such and such. And I think James Franklin is getting a raw deal too about how he hasn't beaten such and such ranked teams. At Penn State, has he really had dominant talent? You know, he's had solid talent all the way around, but he had the dynamic players to win those big games. The Oregon game being an example. Aller's not a dynamic quarterback. Oregon's Dante Moore is. It was a tight game. It wasn't a blowout. I'm not going to hold that against James Franklin that Dante Moore brought him back. To talk about Arkansas, God, it's just a strange state of college sports nowadays. Just a couple years ago, the Arkansas coach was their savior. That he had rebuilt the team and everybody was excited. And now and just a couple years later, the program's going downhill and he gets fired. And they have to turn back to the infamous Bobby Petrino and his motorcycle girlfriend. So, I don't think it necessarily says Sam Pittman's a bad coach too. It's just nobody has any patience anymore, and everybody can nitpick a little record here. I'll take James Franklin as the coach of my school, and Kirby Smart too.
Well, I'm going to tell you one thing. Maybe Arkansas has a short memory, but Chad Morris did a poor job. He really did. Okay, go ahead, Candy.
Let's not forget Arkansas gave up 450 offensive yards in the first half of the Notre Dame game. So that led firing Sam Pittman. Then Petrino fired 3 defensive assistants: defensive coordinator Travis Williams, defensive line coach Deke Adams, and co-defensive coordinator secondary coach Marcus Woodson. So all 3 of them lost their job. You know, when you lose and you lose in that fashion, you have give up so many yards in the first half. Who's inspiring your defense? What is your defense doing? I get Notre Dame is really good this year, and yes, they were ranked even with the 0-2 losses. But you still got to be able to stop people. And so that's part of why, they lost their job. The defense sounds like the defense didn't show up. No, I didn't watch the game, so I can't really comment as to particular, but just seeing 450 yards of offense in the first half from Notre Dame, that's a lot.
Well, to get embarrassed by Notre Dame on national TV in your own stadium didn't help the boosters either, which is why they couldn't get them out of there fast enough. Go ahead, Jeremy. Take it from there.
Well, the total yardage was 641 yards by Notre Dame in that game, 431 passing, 210 yards rushing, 8.9 yards per play, 32 first downs, 6 of 10 on third down, and 2 of 3 on fourth down, with 72 total offensive plays. They only had 5 penalties in the game for 42 yards and dominated with 32 minutes and 47 seconds. Now, when you hear that number, that's not that big of a disparity in time of possession for such a huge score, though. And here's the reason why. 365 total yards of offense for the Razorbacks, 207 passing, 158 yards rushing, and 5.9 yards per play. 5.9 is respectable, but not when you're getting housed by a powerhouse like that.
No question about it. Yeah, that's you can't get embarrassed on your own field on national TV by the Irish. And I'll tell you one thing. I still think that he will definitely land another job somewhere else easily. Sam Pittman, collect whatever money he got coming. He'll be somewhere else. Now, I guess I'll be intrigued to find out if Bobby Petrino can get it straightened out where they're going to be forced to hire him again. That, to me, will be the most interesting thing on the planet. That will be the ultimate of second chances I have ever seen.
Wouldn't that be a third chance?
Hey, only in America. Only in America.
Only in America.
The most forgiving place in the world, right? Why not? Why not?
Yeah.
He's great.
I-
Yeah, I think he's great for college football, and I think he would do well.
I see a little bit of Don King and Marvin Powell III, right? Only in America. Attaboy. All right. So only in America can I go ahead and travel from Alabama or Arkansas or wherever to Clemson, because that's where we're going now. Is 1-3 to begin the season for the first time since 2004. Dabo Sweeney is taking a positive approach. We're not going to win the national championship, but that doesn't mean we can't win the season. Doesn't mean we can't finish well, and doesn't mean that we can enjoy the journey. All right, Marvin.
It's an unfortunate reality for a program that, for quite a few years where it was considered elite. It's still a top program without question, but Dabo was slow to partake in the whole portal process and NIL. I'm wondering if his roster if that's reflected in his roster, even though I think they were ranked respectably earlier on, and I know that the quarterback is considered elite, so. It's definitely disappointing, without question, because they were expecting to go to the playoffs and compete for a national title. Now, when you're this early in the season, we just got out the first quarter of the season, and they know that they're not playing for the big prize. It's just, even though I think you're going to see a lot of teams with 1-2 and 2 or 3 losses, they probably have more losses to come. So the reality is, knowing that there are more losses coming, knowing that you're not playing for anything, he has to find a way to motivate these kids because they are kids at the end of the day, high paid at that. So it's too bad for them, but hey, this is the new world of NIL. Nobody stays on top forever, and that Dabo is going to have to do everything he can to keep this thing together.
Tommy.
Yeah, this is Dabo's 16th year, so that's a long time. I think he just ran his course. And I said this a few weeks ago when we were talking about Notre Dame signing an exclusive deal with Clemson and how it was going to be great for them in the college football playoff ratings. They're playing a quality opponent all the time. I said then that I thought Clemson wasn't going to be the program in the future that they were earlier this decade under Dabo. And I think it's bearing out. Dabo was a great coach. He had a great run, but there are very few coaches who don't run their course, especially after 16 years. And so, yeah, we'll see. He's got a lot of highly recruited players on that team. Were they not really that good, or has he not coached them up? I don't know. But I'm not surprised to see Clemson slipping. Maybe he can get well this week against North Carolina and Bill Belichick.
Candy.
So to quote Sweeney, from a big picture standpoint, it's just been a coaching failure, honestly. I mean, that's just the best way that I can say it. We have just failed as coaches. And I'm not taking accountability away from the players. They got accountability in this too. You got some guys, they have got to play better. They're not just on scholarships anymore. Some of these guys are getting paid a lot of money to perform, and everybody's got accountability. But it's just an absolute coaching failure. I don't have any other way to say it. Clemson has the personnel that matches some teams as a national championship contender. The team returned 80% of its production, which includes 85% of the offense. You weren't this bad last year and you returned all those guys. It's not like you have a whole new team and you're trying to learn everybody again. Let's face it, there's some teams that most of their roster is all new because they have either new NIL guys in, let's take Miami, for instance, only because I work with them. You got Carson Beck, a different quarterback. Some of your receivers are out. Some of your running backs are new. You don't have 85% return rate, and yet you're still doing it. I'm going to say is on the coaching, because the coaching is not motivating maybe it's the same old song and dance, and they think the same old is always going to work, and it's not always going to work. Sometimes you need to change the message. Sometimes you got to ruffle the feathers. Maybe that means pulling somebody and putting somebody else in their place. but something's got to change because that's not the results that they're used to.
Jeremy?
How many teams would let a team go 1-3 if it wasn't a first year coach? I mean, think about it. Usually, you only hear about this with first year coaches or coaches that had a higher ceiling somewhere else coming in where they're rebuilding a program. Dabble Sweeney's not rebuilding a program. That's evident with 85% return rate. Unlike Bill Belichick, who had to recruit and transfer portal half his team in and can't be successful because he's not a college coach.
Great point. Well, the bottom line is even Nick Saban says that Dabo needs to get up. He needs to go out there and adapt with the times. He has not done it yet. Until he does, he's going to be behind the eight ball. And unfortunately, he's going to underachieve. Patty Grimes, I have Tiger colors on. Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, I do like orange. It does work pretty well in Florida, that's for sure. So, we'll continue to follow the college theme. And the Miami Hurricanes, as if they don't have enough depth, they're stocking up for 2026 as defensive lineman Frederick St. has committed to Miami. The 6'4", 275 prospect has emerged as late riser in the 2026 draft class. So, what are your thoughts about that, Marvin? The Miami Hurricanes are bulking up to protect whoever the quarterback is going to be.
This is a high school recruit that signed or committed to Miami.
Yeah, Frederick St.
It makes sense. I mean, when you look at what Cristobal has done with this program, obviously as a former All-American offensive lineman, he understands the value of those five guys up front and that front seven as well. He understands that the football that's played in the box is going to be what determines, what you do as a team and how far you really go. So, with him as a former player who's had success as a head coach, who now is taking this program where they're sitting at an elite level at number 2 in the country. You see they have a good front seven. You see they have one of the best defensive ends in the country. You see they have a good offensive line. This is him building his team from the inside out, and he's doing it, successfully from the portal, as you see with the quarterback. But he's going into the high school ranks. This is a high school kid. He wants to bring players in and he wants to develop them, and that's how it should be. And it doesn't surprise me. This is what you get. I don't know. Listen, and again, I said earlier, Florida is rich with talent. I don't know where this kid is at. Wouldn't surprise me if he was in the state of Florida. But yeah, get used to seeing big name players and players who play in the box going to Miami. He's selling that package very well, and he's a great track record. And at the end of the day, I think you're going to see more of that to come.
Yeah, leave no doubt that Mario Cristobal gets it right. He's a good recruiter. Remember we mentioned on last week's show, he had over 100 recruits in for the Florida game. So this kid here, he knows he's going to have a bunch of good running backs. We're starting to see running backs emerge like Mark Fletcher, and the list goes on. And then you bring in a kid like this to go out there down the line. They're committed to that power run. Tommy?
Well, the timing is good for him to be able to recruit that state. Florida and Florida State obviously aren't playing well. And so, maybe Miami can get back to what they were, where they're dominating the talent in the state. Obviously, it's one of the three hotbeds in the country, California, Texas, and Florida. And the timing is good with Florida and their chief Power 4 rivals not excelling right now. And so there's no reason not to expect Miami to keep climbing.
Candy?
What did you say the guy's name is that we recruited?
Frederick St.
So, just so you guys are aware, for his birthday, Mario Cristobal lands the commitment of rising defensive lineman Frederick. So, on Mario's birthday, he got the words that he landed this the commit. This guy, he spent 2 weekends in a row around the Hurricanes program. He's a 6'4", 290-pound senior. Yes, Marvin, he is from Naples, Florida, committed to the Hurricanes. So one of the things that I'm going to say is Miami has a rich history, and that helps. And in this state and in the south of the state, They are very well known, and Mario is, if he is nothing else, he is a very good recruiter. He goes out, he tries to find who he can, um, and he's been trying to flip people from other programs to come here to Miami. He's got quite a class of 2026 commitments already, and then he's got some even 2027. So if the one thing he is really, really good at, and that is recruiting.
And now
And
we
in
have
the,
to.
and in the day of NIL, you have to be that because you have to recruit outside and within your program. You have to re-recruit.
Jeremy.
Great job getting somebody for the trenches. The trenches are where it's at. The games are won and lost in the trenches. Teams that can't block or can't make that penetration. This guy sounds like he's what they need.
Well, once upon a time, Howard Schnellenberger did a whale of a job recruiting down there and saved the program. We all know what he did. Ariel Cristobal, what he still does need to do, and I've said this week in and week out, and I'll keep saying it, you need to win a bowl game, you need to win the ACC. You're doing great getting people in the building, and now thanks to Mark Rick, they have a great practice facility, but they still need to figure it out otherwise. All right, with that said, go to a couple more Florida Gator topics, and then we'll go to a station break. One of the ones that we can talk about, which I don't like, is that UF coach Jabbar Jaluki was suspended 3 games for slapping an LSU player. Marvin, that is an absolutely no-no. Can't do it.
Yeah, again, it's one of these things where, football is a violent game played by people who, for 60 minutes, want to get down and dirty and attack. If you want to be tough, there is plenty of opportunity within the whistle, within that play, to be tough and do what you want to do to hurt somebody, to violate somebody, whatever it may be. Okay. All this spitting and all the actions and the tough guy antics and the slapping, it's just, low emotional intelligence, selfish acts, and guys who, want to be tough in the wrong moment. In a sport, again, that allows you to be violent. No, there's no need for that. It only hurts you and hurts your team.
Tommy.
Wait a minute. We got a Florida assistant coach who slapped an LSU player. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's that.
He should be
Oh,
fired.
I thought it was a player. I'm sorry. I thought it was
No,
a
it's
player.
the coach. It's the coach.
Oh, I
Slapping
missed
the
coach
opposing
slapping a
team
player.
I
He
missed
should be
that.
fired. Who does he think he is? Woody Hayes?
I
I
I
was
agree.
waiting for that Woody Hayes. Yeah, there you go.
Or Bobby Knight.
This is ridiculous. He should be suspended. He should be fired for slapping his own player. What's he doing to even anywhere near another opponent's
Absolutely,
player?
100%.
Where's Brian Kelly? Brian Kelly should be screaming about this. I just can't even believe this story isn't bigger than it is.
Andy.
He's suspended for 3 games. The one thing I will say that he did is he took the attention off in Billy Napier, though, and we're all talking about him instead of Napier's job and how he's been doing. But it sounds like it was a pre-game during warm up that this happened, but I don't care when it happened. It should not happen at all, period. There's no room for it. Most plays, and I get your point, Marvin, that like during the games things are, you teach and you preach violence, but this is pregame and it was a coach.
I missed that point. I missed the coach part. I thought it was a player. I misheard that. I apologize.
No, it's okay.
I agree with you and Tom on this.
I'm surprised he still has a job, period.
Jeremy.
I'm surprised that a parent hasn't decided to take matters into his own hand and make.
Yeah, good point.
Because I'll tell you what, in this day and age, the way parents protect their kids from being hit, he could be unalive.
Okay. I agree. Woody Hayes, I love the analogy though. Well, it actually happened around my birthday, December 28th, 29th, against Clemson, too. Why do I remember things on my birthday? Because the last time the Lions won a championship was on December 29th, 1957, 5 years before I was born. And then we can also think about Woody Hayes getting fired on my birthday. Oh, my God. Oh, but the best one here is who's it? Rod Marinelli got fired, the Lions guy that, that was the best birthday present they could have given me. Get
Oh
rid of
man,
that bum. He was
Marinelli.
awful.
He coached at USC. He was our D line coach.
Yeah, but he was 0-16 in Detroit, Marvin. Come
I
on,
know.
man. No, but I'll tell you what, if
Great
you know
guy.
my friend, but if you know my friend Rob Parker, he needled him all the time. Rob used to be on his butt all the. Rob and I are buddies. You know Rob Parker, don't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, Rob and I we're good friends. And I can
Good.
remember many times when we were in Charlotte, North Carolina, and the Lions had that road losing streak, which was where we broke the record. Rob Parker fingered in the eyes of an old person that used to watch his show. Rod Marinelli better than anybody I've ever said, and I use the word finger. Jeremy knows where that adjective comes from, right? And I was so
Yeah.
happy, and I couldn't get nailed for it because he was doing it. But I said it to Rob afterward. I agree with you. Thanks for saying what we all wanted to say because they're going to bother him. He's calmness. I had a good relationship with the Lions BR people, but Rob didn't care. He wanted to hit you hard between the teeth. He would make you anybody ugly, when it comes to doing something like because Rob is just an outspoken cat. Is what he is. So yeah, now I understand what he did at USC, Marv, but 0-16. Oh my gosh! And
Hey.
then who was the offensive coordinator that he fired on Black Monday? Martz, I think it was.
Mike Martz.
Mike Martz. Oh my gosh. We had Black Monday firing Mike Martz.
Greatest show on turf.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I still remember Rod Marinelli's introductory presser, and he says, I won't be starting off every game summary with the injury report. By his fourth game, the injury report is.
Yeah, you got to do that.
Yeah.
Well, when
Yeah.
you're 0-4 and 3 of your 4 losses were by less than a field goal.
Yeah, well, I think the biggest gap that Marinelli made, I'll never forget the time when the Lions had to travel to Oakland and play a game, and they didn't even stay in a hotel because he thought his military act was going to be great. Yeah, okay, travel coast to coast and play a football game is sick to mad. That's a really, seriously, really waiting to happen. One more Gators topic. We go to a station break. And that's this. Florida Gator cornerback Dijon Johnson will undergo knee surgery and could miss the rest of the 2025 season. Tough blow for the Gator secondary. I saw when he got helped out the field, and it looked bad. Okay, Candy, some updates about that injury.
He's going to miss the rest of the season. He underwent knee surgery. He suffered the knee injury, obviously, when he was tackling one of Miami's players. Let me see. In the second half, while tackling Miami wide receiver Malachi Tony on a third down play. He's a junior who had 25 tackles and started 5 games for Florida last season. He was a top 100 recruit in the 2023 class. It's going to be fixable. There's nothing long-term out there, but he will be out for the rest of the season.
Jeremy?
You hate it for the kid. He was having a promising year. He was doing well at the position. I'm not saying he was doing well in the particular game where he got hurt, and I hate it for him. There's a time to punt on starters being in a game, especially in college. I understand NIL, I understand scholarships and stuff like that, but if you're getting housed and you can't stop them anyways, why not pull the kid?
Marvin?
This kid was a big time recruit. I think he came from transferring from Ohio State, I think, before going to Florida. Big kid, 6'1", over 200 pounds, strong in the run game. And in the SEC, that's a premium position, premium talent, premium ability. He'll be a tough loss. He'll bounce back, but you hate to see it. You hate to see that for the program. You hate to see that for the kid. And with all the issues they're having in Florida losing games, they need their top guys. Unfortunately, this doesn't help them moving forward.
Yeah, no question about it. Tommy?
Yeah, when it rains, it pours. It's a shame for not only the kid but Florida. They just don't have anything going their way. The one good thing they were doing was playing defense, and now they've lost one of their best defensive players. I want to throw in one more Woody Hayes comment here before we go to the break. After that came out, after he hit that Clemson kid in the Gator Bowl, stories coming about how he routinely hit guys in practice. And in fact, when they were in the room watching film, the veteran player, he was left-handed, so the veteran players knew to sit on the other side of the theater seating so that they wouldn't get slapped by Woody. That's how routine it was for him to hit people. And he coached 20, 30 years. So it's a different time, and I don't understand how this LSU coach has gotten away with that.
Candy.
Or the Florida coach actually hitting an LSU player. Yeah, I don't get it, man. I don't know why that's not a bigger story.
Yeah, no, I mean, well, I'll tell you, that is too surreal, though. A lot of the things that we're talking about here, whether we like them or not, that's just the way things are these days. So, Marvin, what else you have anything you want to add to that? Go ahead.
No, in regards to the coach, I missed that point. I could not imagine being in college and a coach at UCLA slapping me, or you would have to think that the kid had to have said something that was just completely disrespectful, and the coach just showed low emotional intelligence. But and I will say I do know of situations where players and coaches got into it privately, which is fine. Some between grown men, even in college. But to slap an opposing player in that setting on the field is just completely inappropriate. And I don't see where that coach retains his job, period.
Yeah, that's too surreal.
Amen.
Yeah. So, with that said, everybody's spoken on that topic. So, just want to make sure we'll go to one more last topic, station break coming up. The NCAA passes a one-time transfer portal window. Spring transfer, that portal is eliminated. How many people are going to breathe a sigh of relief on this panel?
A lot of them.
Yeah, right. We'll start with Marvin first.
Listen, the NCAA college football had the same system in place for 100 years, and within a period of 3 to 5 years, it was flipped upside down with the NIL and transfer portal. We saw more change in these last few years than we had literally in the last century. We saw crazy outcomes and crazy scenarios and horrible situations where kids were just, taking money, leaving, not honoring contracts, teams, going into bowl games with not enough players. I mean, it was ridiculous. So now, obviously, with the House settlement and with this new law that they're going to implement, we're seeing this thing get ironed out. We're seeing things calm down. We're recognizing that, okay, the pay for play is here. That ain't going anywhere. But we do have to figure out, and with the transfer portal, that's going to stay in place. But we have to have guardrails. We have to have some type of system. We have to be able to establish, and maintain culture and team and not be rated every year and all throughout the year. So it's a good thing. It's a step in the right direction. And I think it's going to help a lot of people who have struggled with all the changes that we've seen in college football the last couple of years.
If you've ever covered a college spring game, you know what it's like to go there and not have a roster in front of you, and then you have to hope that the media people, communications people, try to get you to somebody that you think will be on the team. It's unbelievable. Yeah, this twice in a short period doesn't work for me. Marvin, I couldn't agree with you more. Tommy?
Yeah, if there was any better example of nobody was in charge in the NCAA in recent years, it's how wide open everything was. What a wild west it was. Guys leave it, have 2 or 3 top opportunities within a calendar year to leave the team.
Right.
You didn't know who, and like you said, like Marvin said, the bowl games. Guys, you couldn't even dress enough guys for a bowl game.
Yeah, that's bad.
And I think it was Penn State, where the quarterback, they had a backup quarterback, and he hated to leave Penn State during the playoffs, but he wasn't going to beat out on Aller, so he planned to transfer for his last year, and I can't remember the guy's name or where he ended up. And there was pressure put on him to leave now, or else they were going to pick a different quarterback. So the guy missed out on the college football playoffs. So I mean, it was ridiculous, completely unorganized, and finally some sanity is being restored.
Candy.
From what I've read, though, they haven't exactly decided what time frame. They're looking at starting the transfer portal at January 2nd after the quarterfinals. They haven't completely, and they said it's going to be a 10-day window. They just haven't exactly given us the dates. I do like the fact that it is only one time that they can do this transfer portal during the year. I don't know about the timing because yes, I feel that so many of the kids left and went into the transfer portal and therefore didn't finish the year, didn't finish their season as part of the playoffs, the bowl games. I think it really changed the outlook of how we see bowl games because they didn't have all the talent in there and they weren't all the teams weren't competing the same. So I hope it gets back to where we really look forward to the bowl games and that the players play in them.
Yeah, well, that makes us even more sensible with everyone what you guys have said, and that's this: can't even field enough team players to field a bowl game. That's bad. How many teams had to get out of a bowl game and they had to bring in somebody else, and the game was awful? Go
It
ahead,
was one
Jeremy.
last year. It was one last year. But at the same time, I think it should be after the college football championship and prior to your commits. That way you can actually change your recruiting practice at that point to be able to recruit the guys to replace the people you lost in the transfer portal. And the reason why is because let's say it's a bunch of players on the team that has a chance to go to the national championship that's not happy with the totalitarian coach. And all of a sudden, here we go. After the quarterfinals, these guys transfer out and they can't even field a proper starting roster.
Points well taken. Station break time. I have some pretty good other topics I want to get to with this group here with five and the fact that everything's going on. I'm adding a couple as we go along to begin with, but I love human interest stories. And when we come back, I'll give you another one. Go ahead, Candy. Station break.
South Florida Tribune Publishing Company published a book, Lessons from the Microphone, Tuning into the Enduring Wisdom of Visionary Leaders. It is written by our host, Scott, the Motor City Madmouth Morganroth. Talks about his 40 plus years in the media business and how it has evolved, old school media versus new school media. Get your copy today. It's available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Kindle, Google, and Apple Books. There's also a link on our website, www.southfloridatribune.com, where there is a plethora of great content, so go check it out. In fact, one of our panelists here, Mr. Jeremy Baldrick, he writes for us, and he has columns on our website, so go check them out. If you like to listen to podcasts, you can find us wherever you get your podcasts. If you see the red subscribe button in that lower, if you see the red YouTube button, that means you have not yet subscribed to us. Why not? What are you waiting for? Go ahead, subscribe, click it, like us, share us with all your friends and family, and I'll turn on your notifications so you're notified anytime we go live. You don't want to miss any of our great programs. If you want to sponsor a show or advertise, call Scott 954-304-4941. And if you want to be a guest or have topic ideas, you can always email us at southfloridatribune@gmail.com. Back to you, Scott.
All right. Well, I have a really inspiring story for those of us that are getting a little bit older. Candy, you can research the guy's name, but I was able to pick this off of my cracked sources. Division III Lycoming College has a 58-year-old freshman defensive lineman. 58-year-old defensive lineman. Candy, why don't you look it up? Marvin, can you imagine anybody playing football at the age of 58 years of age?
I tell you what, this guy must be in great shape, which is very possible, and obviously have a real passion for this. Because I'll tell you, football, as I said earlier, is a violent game, even at the collegiate level, and it is a young person's game. As I watched, when I was watching Brady at 45 compete, or his early 40s, I mean, it was impressive. Super impressive. So at 58, hey, my heart goes out to him. I'm a football nerd. I've been that my whole life. I have such a love for the game, and this guy does too. So, hey, I'm rooting for this guy 100%. I hope he just kicks butt and has fun.
How do you feel now, Tommy? A 58-year-old guy playing football. Candy, how you doing with the name?
I got it. I've got some other information about him too.
Good.
So.
All right, we'll turn to you next.
Go ahead, tell us.
Yeah, go ahead. Then we'll turn you over to Tommy.
His name is Tom Sillo, Cillo. He's defying the odds in his quest to show that it's never too late to chase your dreams. At 58 years old, he is a freshman defensive lineman for the Division III Lycoming College Warriors in his hometown of Williamsburg, Pennsylvania. He
Really?
aims to become the oldest player to appear in an NC2A college football game since 2009. He stands at an imposing 6 feet. He's 227 pounds and is a powerlifting champion, having broken the International Powerlifting Association world record in the deadlift for the 55 to 59 age group back in 2024 when he lifted 590 pounds. In high school, he played basketball and signed up to play football, but quit immediately as he started drinking. But he struggled with alcohol and drugs in his young life, and now he's raising a family and committed to a healthy lifestyle, and he's trying to become the oldest player to appear in an NC2A game since Tom Thompson debuted as a kicker for D3 Austin College at the age of 61 back in 2009.
Great stuff, Tommy. Pick it up from there.
One last thing, he signed an NIL deal too, so just so you know.
I was
Okay.
wondering how was
Wait,
that
it gets better. Guess who the NIL deal is with?
Who?
Asper Cream.
Is it really?
I thought you might say it was depends, like Dion.
No, it's not that bad.
All right, well, Jeremy, while you're talking, continue on, then we'll turn over to Tommy. I'm having fun researching these other topics that wouldn't get national attention. We started with FAE. Why not add this guy? Tom Sillo, is that Cillo?
Tom Sillo, Cillo. He goes, I'm living proof you are never too old to chase your dream. At 58, I'm still lacing up, competing, and showing that passion doesn't age. I may have more aches and pains than I used to, but then I just roll on some Asper cream and show the younger guys that grit beats pain every time.
Great stuff. All right, Jeremy, that's your piece.
He's going to receive an undisclosed payment as part of the deal, along with a 4-year supply of the over-the-counter pain relief product.
You say Asper cream?
Yes.
Asper cream.
Yep.
It's
The
awesome.
roll-on version.
Only in America, baby. Only in America.
Yeah.
Right?
Hey, Candy, I think you need to get me some when you get to the store.
How can you not love this country, right?
That's what. Hey, Martin, why do you think I come up with stuff like this? I'm the only crazy SOB on the planet that would come up with these stories. Nobody in their right mind would even do it. That's why I'm doing it. I have a great crew of 5. I've never had all 5 of you on one show together. And because of the fact that everybody's answers are what they are, they're great. I have an opportunity to slide a few in. All right, Tommy, then we'll get to some of the other stuff that we've been working on.
Well, yeah, if he's a power lifter, he's obviously in shape to be doing what he's doing, although you wonder what happened to his body when he was having his drinking problem. But, some guys are just born with indestructible bodies. I was listening. Well, and the other thing is, I was wondering when Kenny was reading that off, the oldest player since 2009, I was wondering who the heck that is. Well, it was a kicker, so that explains that. But, some guys just have indestructible bodies. It's genetic. And while I was here listening about him, I was thinking back to Pete Rose's old glory days when they'd write stories about him, and they said his dad was still playing semi-pro football in his 40s. That's the kind of example that I related it to. It's very interesting. More power to him.
Okay, now back to college. Okay, since we had a little bit of fun with these last few topics, but we're going to go talk about Thomas Castellanos is stuffing Alabama in a locker because it says this is funny. They don't have a Nick Saban to save them. I just don't see them stopping me. He was right. FSU defeated Alabama. What are the Miami Hurricanes in for? Thomas Castellanos could have Miami on upset alert, Jeremy.
Yeah, I mean, he's looking like a good quarterback there, and I think he's going to be one of the better ones when he's ready to come out. He's got very good stats so far. Young kid out of Florida State. Waiting for my phone to update. I'm trying to read some more on him. He also played for the Boston College Eagles in the UCF Knights.
Right. Yeah, well, you know what? Great point, because he obviously worked with Gus Malzahn as well. That's why this game's going to be dangerous on Saturday. Candy?
You know, he's one of those recruits that Marvin keeps telling that Florida is rich with talent, because he was born in Miami, Florida. So he's 5'11", 201 pounds. Yes, he's played for a couple different schools. When you watched him play, because we watched that game Friday night last week, yeah, Miami's going to have their hands full. Now, Miami's defense is really good, so it's going to be an interesting matchup, and I'm really looking forward to that, because Miami's defense is one of their strong suits, I would say. Although Carson Beck's good too, but I'm really looking forward to this matchup, though.
Yeah, I'm intrigued. Marvin?
Yeah, this kid is a dynamic athlete. He's a game changer, and it's because of that they beat Alabama. This kid made clutch plays. He was, time after time, series after series, and he's explosive. I mean, he in that Gus Malzahn offense, which is a lot of quarterback keep, and he's running the quarterback in the A gap, B gap, outside the tackle. I mean, keeping it, dropping back, trick play. He's one of these gadgety guys, man. He's good like that. He's also a little bit limited in the pass game, which you saw last game. And against these Canes, who have an outstanding front, as I was saying, led by an All-American defensive end who's going to be a top prospect in the NFL draft, this kid's going to be running for his life. They're going to be chasing him all game. I expect that front seven for to be too much for Florida State. That's really how I look at that. And I think some of this kid's passing issues are going to come to light, unfortunately. But he's a special player, and I like him a lot.
I'll say one thing. Florida State's mad. They lost to Virginia. Miami better they better not take this team lightly, or Mario Cristobal is going to be eating humble pie. That's all I'll have to say. I'll turn it over to Tommy.
Yeah, I don't like this guy. They just lost to Virginia. Why are we talking him up? He was at Boston College. He didn't do anything special at Boston College. In fact, he couldn't get along with Bill O'Brien because Bill O'Brien tried to discipline him to become an NFL quarterback. Johnny Manziel was explosive too. Where's he today? And I didn't like this guy. What has he done to be popping off at an ACC kickoff before the season that Alabama doesn't have Nick Saban to save him anymore? And I don't care that if he pulled it off. Who is he to be popping off like that about Alabama when he hasn't proven anything up until then? But the media, as it always does, they're like blackbirds. When one flies off the wire, they all follow. And it was really a dig at Nick Saban that the media was enjoying, exploiting about Castellanos. And I hated it that they were able to beat Alabama and this kid got celebrated. And I'm glad that they lost to Virginia, and I hope Miami takes it out on them.
Tell me how you really feel, Tommy. But at least that's why we're talking about the Miami for the state game, right? Great stuff. All right, we're gonna let's talk about Candy. Everybody get their 2 cents in on this. All right, good. Yeah. Let's talk about some dolphins. We got a couple different versions of them. Number one, Mexico has banned dolphin entertainment and is planning to release 350 dolphins back into the sea. Can you believe that? They're releasing 350 dolphins back in the sea. Marvin, what's your take on that? Animal welfare.
Yeah, listen, if it's not good for them, it's unfortunate. A lot of issues, a lot of things going on in the world, and it may be tough to prioritize the Dolphins. Right now, I don't know their situation down there or what's happening with that, but I wish them the very best of luck.
Now, well, I forget, Pack. It is open ocean. Got to
Lot,
get those
lot,
fish
lot,
around
lot,
the
lot,
open.
lot of sushi spots out here looking for looking for some cheap fish. So I don't know what we'll see what happens.
Okay, so now go ahead, Tommy. And then there's a two or three part thing to this whole thing. Go ahead, Tommy. Let's just talk about the Dolphins.
I thought when I saw this on our list, I thought we were talking about the Miami Dolphins and some
Me too.
program.
Well, then you might as well forget about talking about that. We'll go into the Miami Dolphins because the
I thought it
Miami
was some kind
Dolphins.
of Miami animal program to save the sea creatures.
Yeah, well, now that you mention that, Tommy, we'll just move this thing along with a few more. Miami Dolphins are going to be playing in Mexico as well, so I wouldn't worry about it. If they didn't want 350 of them, why would they want 53 more of them, let alone with this team? All they did was beat a bad New York Jets team whose coach was screaming at his team afterwards, where you can hear him afterwards. That was bad. You talked about the fact that the Dolphins, without a guy I'm about to mention, got blown out. Now, Mexico doesn't want the Miami Dolphins, and they got rid of 350. That's why I creatively threw this topic in. So maybe I did get the right group to comment on it. Candy, your thoughts, and then we're going to talk about Tyreek Hill.
Well, Mexico is not only releasing the 350 dolphins, they banned dolphin entertainment and the breeding of marine mammals for shows. So they're trying to, keep the mammals and the animals back into their natural preserve. My guess is maybe they don't have as many and they're becoming extinct, and they think if they're pulling them and putting them and only breeding them for shows that they're no longer going to have them, and you don't want that. So they're sanctioning them, and they're going to relocate these dolphins into a seaside sanctuary as an initial step, with the goal of actually returning them to the open sea where they can live a natural life eventually.
Now, Jeremy, did you ever think you'd hear a topic like this on any show you were ever on? Because because the sports exchange is a way different bird. You guys got a little bit of a little.
You know what? It's great, and it's nice to hear about a little marine biology. But I was thought when I first heard Miami and Mexico, I thought maybe the dolphins were relocating, so maybe they could be hotter.
Oh, that's good. One thing about Ballrick, his sense of humor is good. I'm proud of this
But
guy.
no, it's a great thing, and I like the fact that they put a seaside sanctuary in. Hopefully, it's one that fish can come in so they can learn how to hunt again. Because so far, if they've been in captivity, they've been hand fed, so they need to learn how to hunt again.
Right.
There you go. More power to you. Great comments all the way around on the topic. Now we're going to go to one wounded dolphin. This isn't funny. This is bad. Candy, give us let's talk about the injury to Tyreek Hill. This is very serious stuff.
So if any of you saw the injury last night, it was not good. Basically, he tore multiple ligaments in his knee, including his ACL. He underwent season-ending surgery today. His agent, Drew Rosenhaus, said the Whiteout won't need future surgical procedures and could play in 2026. It's about his rehab and will he play next season. The realistic goal is the start of the season, Rosenhaus said. So it's really about now he had the surgery, now rehabbing it the right way.
I'll say one thing. For those of you individuals that thought he was going to be dealt to the Pittsburgh Steelers this year, not happening. I know a lot of people thought that was a trade deadline possibility. Not going to happen. The best thing that Tyreek could do is rehab, get well, and hopefully he can be as productive as he can. A serious injury like this, these hands will humble anybody. And I wish Tyreek Hill the best in his recovery. But no trade to Pittsburgh at all, like many people once upon a time thought. Jeremy?
Well, heck, in my Lions chat with the guys that do my Lions show on Fridays, one of them said we should go all in and trade for Tariq Hill. I was like, well, seeing how he's out for the year, that's a Brad Holmes move, according to you guys, because they always say he does nothing but sign or trade for injured players. I said, but the fact he's out for the season, he can't be traded for. He's on the IR. There's nothing you can do about it.
Right.
I wish nothing but the best for him, because you know what? He needs to be able to play till he's 45 because he has 12 kids.
That's true. Yeah, Labor Day's happened to him 12 times. Tommy?
Yeah, we talked about him before about how he's damaged his reputation.
Yeah.
Look, injuries can happen anywhere, anytime. But if he would have stayed in Kansas City, he'd been on the Super Bowl teams. He'd be a legend forever in Kansas City, like so many of those great Chiefs players from their Super Bowl teams in the 60s, Super Bowl I and Super Bowl IV, Bobby Bell, all those guys. He flew. He's Icarus. He flew too close to the sun, and he wasn't prepared for the future. And now he's got an injury that's gonna impact his earning income the rest of his life.
Marvin?
Yeah, he's tied into a pretty significant contract right now with the Miami Dolphins. He has, arguably one of the most significant agents in the history of the league, in Drew Rosenhaus, who has a history of taking care of his players contractually. So it's really unfortunate to see a player of his caliber, a guy who means so much to the offense, especially when the team has been struggling. And, you look at this win against the Jets. The Jets haven't closed the game out this year. They're one of the worst teams in the league. The Jets are competing for the number 1 overall draft pick, and with a few others, including the Dolphins. So, they're in trouble. Losing an all-pro player like Hill just makes it that much tougher on a team that's already struggling. So, unfortunate happens to the player. I hate it for him. I understand the amount of work he puts into this and how he's built his reputation on the field. And it's a hit for everybody attached to that organization.
Yeah, no question about it. Not a good look at all. So let's continue on to Malik Neighbors, is in his 6th quarterback since being drafted in 19 games with Jackson Dart. Unfortunately for Neighbors, though, he suffered a season-ending ACL injury versus the LA Chargers. And get this, upon his benching, 36-year-old Russell Wilson says he is not retiring. Brian Dable decided to start Jackson Dart, an attempt to. You think it's an attempt? This is a 2-part question for everybody. Is it an attempt to save his job? And also keep in mind that one thing I like about Dart, just hearing the way the kid comments, is that he called Dable and he told him that he wanted to discuss the team's red zone issues. Dable says to him, "Get some sleep. We'll talk about it in the morning." Jeremy, is this the type of quarterback that you would like to have on your team? This kid seems like he's a blue-collar rat. And Russell Wilson, I'm not going to talk about where he's going to wind up later, but the reality of the situation is that obviously we know in our mind that he's a good guy to build around. Jeremy, go ahead.
Well, Jackson Dart was one of the guys that I said was one of the. If I needed a quarterback this draft, I would have drafted him. It was him. There was a couple others. I think Dylan Gabriel was on that list.
Right.
And last on that, I had him as one of the best. I had Dylan Gabriel up there at like 3rd or 4th. And then I had Shedeur Sanders at 6th or 7th just because I didn't like his attitude and what I heard about his interviewing skills. And it had nothing to do with his play. It had to do with everything else, the attitude. So
Well, that's it.
I had Jackson Dart, like he was in my top 3.
Did you? Okay. Yeah, well, attitude, you said it all. So let's go back to Malik Neighbors. It's that tough injury. It really is.
Oh,
especially now that he finds a quarterback that he actually could probably be productive with.
The bad part is he's been productive without quarterback. He had
now
Daniel
he gets
Jones.
one.
Now he gets one, and he gets hurt during the game. He has one.
Yeah.
I feel sorry for the kid, but guess what? It looks like they found their quarterback of the future if this kid continues to progress this way, because he already in that game proved he's doing better things than what Russell Wilson did, because Russell Wilson couldn't even lead them to victory versus the Cowboys in overtime.
Great points. Candy?
Unfortunate that Malik got injured. You never want to see any player get injured, much less you're hearing more and more of all these players tearing their ACL. Not a good injury. You feel for him, especially since he was doing better. And now had a quarterback. As far as Jackson Dart, he'll be as good as he can be with the offensive line he has working for him, because he's still under a lot of pressure. That O line is just not. And I'll say this about a lot of quarterbacks: you need a good offensive line to protect you, because if you don't, the corners in this league are so good. They're covering. You need time, and in order to really uh, be productive. Let's face it. We talked again. I mean, I know I'm going a little off topic here, but because Cam Ward, like, he's getting killed out there too because he doesn't have a good offensive line. These kids that are getting drafted, they're going to teams that are bad, and it's not helping their development, throwing them in like they are.
Tommy,
Yeah, I hope Malik Neighbors. That's disappointing. It's a bad break, but it is football. Guys get injured. Um, I hope the Giants are conscious of protecting Jackson Dart, developing him, and not letting him get beat up. I don't know what kind of offensive line the Giants have, but we've seen this happen so many times with quarterbacks drafted high by bad teams, and they get beat up and they lose their confidence. So, two things. I hope the Giants are smart about the way they use him, and I hope Russell Wilson will be wise enough to help him develop and mature, and teach him a lot of the things, a lot of the knowledge he gained from his NFL career. I don't know if Wilson has that in him. I sure hope he does. I know Brett Favre didn't have it in him with the Packers for Aaron Rodgers, and then Aaron Rodgers didn't have it in him for Jordan Love. So it isn't something that's a given.
Marvin.
After losing Saquon, Malik Neighbors is, one of the few bright spots Giant fans had to look at. As an NFL rookie, he became relevant on one of the worst offenses in the NFL, and you realize that he's a very special player because even in an 0-4 start, even in a horrible start, he shined, and obviously his injuries, everything. Listen, Jackson Dart was a big name player coming out of high school. He was a starting quarterback at USC. He got hurt, lost his job, went to Ole Miss, had a great career, was a high draft pick for the Giants. And this is a kid who's been coached by really good coaches. He's had elite level coaching in college, and going to Dayball, who also has reputation for offense. It wouldn't surprise me. It doesn't surprise me that they won a game, that he had some success. And this is a kid who Dayball is rolling the dice with, trying to save his job. This is about self-preservation. This is about Dayball saving his job. Dayball knows what he has in Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson was a good player for the Giants this year. He didn't look bad. He played well, and they still lost games. The guy threw for almost 500 yards against the Cowboys in a loss. With that said, Russell Wilson shouldn't retire. This is a league that needs veteran quarterbacks. Plug and play guys. Russell is a high IQ guy. He's a guy who's been played at a high level. He's valuable to anybody who needs somebody right now, even if you're a bridge quarterback. So I think Russ still has some money to make. I think Jackson Dart might have something. We'll see. Losing Neighbors doesn't help his cause.
Right.
That's it.
Yeah, Jeremy's right. Okay, let's talk about the attitude of Jackson Dart. Phenomenal. Anytime a coach tells you, go to sleep, we'll talk about it in the morning, that means he's thinking about a night, I want to fix this situation. He's got a brash personality internally that is something that you can't find in the quarterback these days. I'm going to fix this situation. You're going to remain my coach, even though the odds may be long. At least he knows it's a puncher's chance to do it. Malik Neighbors, it's just sad. He goes down. And it's too bad we've had to talk about two impact playmakers, but in Tyreek Hill and Malik Neighbors that both went down to major injuries. Okay, well, let's continue on here as we talk about the fact that the Philadelphia Eagles spent extra time And Saunas prepare for their Tampa Bay Heat forecast, which was 104 degrees on the horizon. I'll tell you what, if you're going to go ahead and prepare for that heat, there's no better way to do it than that. Jeremy?
Hey, what a way to go. Hey, that's it. You said it.
Yeah, I mean, you're going to prepare for something. You might as well just stay in this. And sauna wouldn't feel so bad right now. I could definitely feel it. I mean, it's a good show for me tonight. Got Asper Cream and a sauna. The Asper Cream, I think I could get quicker than the sauna, but but I'll let Carrie Candy pick up the narrative on that since I got to laugh out of Ballrick.
Oh my goodness, really?
Yeah.
So let's face it, different teams do different things to prepare for opponents. Some of them, they siphon in loud, sounds, loud crowd noises. Some of them, like I can, I always hear in Minnesota that horn that they play. Like different teams do whatever they need to do, whether it be practicing heat or um, any of those things. Flying in a day early so that they can prepare for playing. Whatever advantage you can take in the NFL, you got to take it. Whatever you can do to, prepare for the game, you got to do it. Um, because that's the only edge you've got is to try and, because yes, down here in Florida, it's hot and it's humid. It's not just hot, it's humid. And makes a big difference when, you see players cramping and how they deal with that, how their bodies acclimate with that makes a big difference.
I mean,
Yeah, well, the Eagles seem to be doing everything right. They're on top of everything. They're always prepared. They're thinking ahead, and this is just yet another example. It only makes sense to do what they're trying to do. It reminds me of a story. You'll love this one, Marvin. In 1978, USC was going to go play at Birmingham. Bear and John Robinson, the great John Robinson, had watched Nebraska play at Alabama 2 weeks earlier in Birmingham. It was a hot, hot day. Bear Bryant, sportsman that he is, chuckle. He had all air conditioners set up on the Alabama side. And over on the Nebraska side, the Nebraska players were waving towels in their faces while they wilted. John Robinson saw that on film, and USC brought air conditioners to Birmingham to have on the sidelines, and USC upset then number one ranked Alabama.
man, Tommy, you're full of great stories. I'm glad we've had the time to let you get a slip a few in. And you couldn't have a better audience than a guy like Marvin listening to this John Robinson story. But let's talk about the Philadelphia Eagles, and then if you want to elaborate, go ahead.
Hey, Tom. John Robinson was my coach for my first 3 years, and he was my dad's coach at USC. Listen, if you're not a Florida team, the heat and the humidity is a weapon against you, without question. It is an element that is very real, that impacts performance, that is a very defeating element of the game mentally if you're not accustomed to it. It is absolutely genius that Howie Roseman and Sirianni would have their guys prepare in such a manner. It makes sense because if you know, the reality is the sauna is what it's like to be in Tampa or somewhere in Florida on certain days, especially during hurricane season when it's really muggy, So I get it. It was a small strategic thing they did that made a tremendous difference. Obviously, they were able to battle through, and I think it's great.
Great stuff. Final topic of the night. I know the one that everybody's waiting for on this panel. Jerry Jones didn't mince words on his decision to pay Dak Prescott and not Micah Parsons. It's very simple. Dak was indispensable in my mind, and Micah wasn't. Sunday night's game in Dallas, 40-40 tie is what it produced. The Packers are in second place. Who would have thought that behind Detroit? I never thought I'd ever see that with a Detroit 3-1, 2-1-1. No worry, Candy. I know you caught us on flat on the first week, but keep that away from the Lions and the Packers a little. Jeremy, what are your thoughts about the fact that maybe Jerry Jones was a lot smarter than we thought on this one?
Well, what he was smart about was he finally saved some money. He finally didn't pay a star. Because guess what? Going forward, if he'd have paid him money, they wouldn't have much of a team the next few years with
Right.
Dak Prescott's floated contract. CeeDee Lamb, who's now going to be considered an injury hazard, not injury prone. Because now they're all going to be getting up there in age. That's the only way he's smart. He got draft capital. He got a guy to help him stuff the run, and he did help in that run stuffing. Even though Josh Jacobs did break out a few times and got some yardage, guess who was there to stop him in that A and B gap most of the time? It was Kenny Clark.
Great point. And not only that, we all know the old story that Micah Parsons, that his podcast related issues were also problematic there as well. Everybody got sick and tired of him doing his podcast. So when you got rid of him, you got rid of his podcast. All right, Candy, I know that you were pretty excited about that trade at the time. Many of us compared it to Reggie White. So what are your thoughts after your observation on Saturday's game that you managed to stay up later for me to go out there and I fell asleep?
I wish there was a way in NFL that they didn't end in a tie. I understand it does. That's the way it works out. Am I happy that Micah is on our team? Of course, because he has elevated the play of other teammates because he's drawing double teams and the like. And the fact that the Packers are one of the youngest teams out there, they can afford to pay him right now. They gave Jordan Love a hefty contract.
Right.
They played well for most of the game. Now, I will say, I don't quite understand a couple things. I don't understand Jordan's. How should I put it? At the end, I would think that you would practice 2-minute drills and you'd be a lot quicker, and they would have been a lot quicker to come up to the line before that second to last play because they only left 1 second on that clock in order for us to kick the extra point to tie it at the end of the game. So that kind of surprised me. The fact that we had a blocked field goal in the first half, and then they ran it back and scored. So that was a 5-point differential right there in the score. Would have made a difference. And the fact that happened in back-to-back weeks, that's kind of concerning that it was blocked, and I don't know where our defense that supposedly is supposed to be really good, and we couldn't stop them. Now, they couldn't stop us either. We went back and forth, but there were some surprising things that I didn't necessarily like, although it was a good game. I mean, let's face it. The score changed. Jeremy and I were talking about this between overtime and the fourth quarter. It was like a nine times the score changed who was leading the game because we went back and forth and back and forth. So,
well, the bottom line is Green Bay's a win now mode is what they are. That's why they made this move to begin with. So I really do. And Jordan Love, let's face the reality, he's a heck of a quarterback. But we all know that Dallas can't stop anybody either. But so they'll have to outscore them. All right, Tommy.
Okay, we'll see how this trade turns out. Micah Parsons has been battling with a back injury. He's getting double teamed. It's way too early to say how this trade's going to turn out. As for Jerry Jones, I get sick of all the shots of him in his suite. Why do we have to see how Jerry Jones is reacting or what Jerry Jones has to say? The only thing I want to hear out of Jerry Jones is when Washington Post came out with that story, I guess it's been 4 years or so, where he's pictured in the white mob with the Little Rock Nine in Arkansas, goading and taunting these black kids because they want to go to school and desegregate a high school in Arkansas. And Jerry Jones has never had an explanation for what he was doing there, even if he was just watching. That's not good enough. He would play football at a segregated college, Arkansas, and he's never shown us he really understands the racial divide in America, and he didn't support the black players on his team during Black Lives Matter. That's the only thing I want to hear about Jerry Jones, was what was he doing with that white mob with the Little Rock Nine in Arkansas?
All right. Well, Marvin, what are your thoughts about what took place on Sunday night and with that Micah Parsons return to Dallas?
Yeah, listen, I saw today that Michael Parsons is what their number is $45 million a year. He's the highest paid defensive end, and I saw that with the top 10 highest paid defensive ends in the NFL, only one of them, Bosa, has any type of Super Bowl appearance at all. So I think with Jerry Jones, he's looking at the reality. Big contract with CD, as you said, Scott. Big contract with Dak. You're gonna also pay this guy. I mean, that's just tough. So he clogged the middle. He got a big body in there, and Kenny Clark is starting to pay dividends already.
Right.
Jerry Jones on this one may have made the right play.
Well, I think the key words are already mentioned here. I don't. All right, Jeremy, you think of what I'm thinking. If you are, go ahead. I'll let you, because I know what I'm going to say. Go ahead.
I was going to say I'm tired of seeing Jerry Jones in the booth too, because he looks like the crypt keeper up there.
That is pretty funny. That was good. We need a little humor this late. But I'm going to go back to draft capital. Jerry did get that. He did. And if he could get a good return with Kenny Clark and some draft capital, that sounds like a pretty solid trade all the way around. I think it's more win now for Green Bay. But it didn't take Micah Parsons long to sign an extension. I hope it turns out to be a win-win for both sides. I really, really do. Green Bay gets another Super Bowl. Dallas can work towards it by adding some quality players without going salary cap broke, because everybody mentioned it in this panel that you don't want to tie up all your players into two players or three. And that's why Jerry Jones said, why was one indispensable versus dispensable? He pretty much laid it out there for you. So great show tonight. I do want to mention a special happy birthday to one particular person I grew up watching on TV. Why am I doing that? Because Marvin, obviously being an LA guy, can relate to this. I think we can all relate to it. How many people remember the show Emergency on this panel? Does anybody?
I remember it.
Okay, well, guess what?
Didn't watch it, but I remember it.
Exactly.
Okay, well, happy birthday to Randolph Mantooth, who turned age 80 from Emergency. He played Tom Gage, and I like his partner, Roy DeSoto, played by Kevin Ty. Why do I say this? Because I'll tell you one thing about Emergency that few people realize out here. The paramedic system, as it stands right then, created the first responders that we have now. It broke ground in that particular area. And without shows like Emergency, which are really good shows that you can watch what people do in the field to get people back to the hospital and save lives, that's what's important. And that's why I decided to mention this birthday with Randolph Mantooth. Marvin obviously lived in the LA area for a while, and all of us can relate to it. Anybody have any thoughts about the Emergency program? Jeremy, what do you remember the best about it?
Well, it also led to other shows that dealt with the same thing, like Adam 12 and a few others. It was a good show. I mean, I was young. I'm not going to lie. But I do remember watching it as a kid. I mean, it was 5 and 6 the last couple of years it was on.
Okay, still a good show. Whether you're 5 or 6 or 9, you can still appreciate you remember it. You put your hands up. Yep. And what you said, Jeremy, is that led to other shows like one Adam 12. Candy, what are your thoughts about it?
Again, it was the start of spawning off a lot of other medical shows, whether it, and I remember some of the cast went on to be on other shows as well. I mean, I didn't watch I don't remember it a ton. I was kind of young back in those days, but yeah, that's what it was the start of a lot of, like your Marcus Welby, like those kind of shows spawned off more medical shows that we watched and still are watching.
Great point. What about you, Marvin?
Yeah, I never saw the show, heard of it. Can't really say much about it. I'm more of a Chicago Met guy, if that's anything similar.
And now you got Candy smiling. She loves all those shows there. All right, Tommy.
Yeah, I didn't really watch the show, but if they created more awareness of the importance of first responders, Hey,
Right.
more power to him, because in today's society, in this tragic world we're living in now, especially 9/11 being the perfect example, we have so much more great respect for all the first responders.
Well, that's what. There you got it. That's me have it. That's why I wanted to bring this up. I had a little extra time tonight. Great crew. Enjoyed all the things we got to talk about tonight. Some different things. Be able to recognize different people. Sometimes when you have 5 people like this, the group that we have, I'm glad that we're able to touch on a lot of different topics and keep the main core topics. And we'll have a new set of them. Jeremy Ballrick will be a part of the show going forward. We'll just have to figure out where we can fit him in. If I have to add him as a 7th person once in a while, I'll do it. I'll just shorten the amount of topics and get more quality voices in. But Jeremy was nice enough on short notice to fill in. He does a good job for us, and he does an outstanding job on Fire Up as well with Candy Ebling and what I call the Country Club. Anybody that can get on the Country Club will be there. Tommy will be joining me on the Sports Exchange twice a month. And guess what? Marvin gets to join me 4 times a month on Wednesday night. So Tommy and Marvin will bolster the college football as well on Wednesday night. I'm looking to have a powerhouse lineup across the board, and that's what we're looking to try to do. We have a guy named Ryan Smith who's popping in. I guess better late than never if he's in here. Ryan, okay, I know it's been a little while, and we're about ready to wrap up the show. So I guess I'll ask you one question real quickly before we sign off. What are your thoughts about the Sunday night game between the Green Bay Packers and the Dallas Cowboys? Can you hear me? Wow,
Right.
we're having problems with his connection.
Oh, okay. Oh, sorry. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we
I
can hear you now.
Yeah, sorry. I've been. I thought the show was over, so I apologize. It's
That's okay.
quite a whirlwind tonight, so I apologize. I could only come on here for the last 2 minutes here.
That's fine.
Yeah. You said the Sunday night game. Sorry, that was the
Yeah.
question.
Yeah.
Everyone doesn't like ties. I hate ties. I think somebody should have won the game, but I think if you're Dallas, I think you're looking like it as a win. I mean, Dak was smiling after the game. I mean, I don't think anybody expected Dallas to keep that game as close as they did, if not have the opportunity to win. So I think if you're Green Bay, that felt like a loss. If you're Dallas, that felt like a win.
Okay,
Yeah, same thing.
2 other topics I'll get you real quickly. Number one, thoughts about the injury to Tyreek Hill.
Obviously, devastated for him personally. You never want to see anyone come out with an injury like that. That is obviously he's going to be out the rest of the season. The goal is to be obviously healthy for 2026. I don't know if that's going to be possible realistically. I think he's probably going to miss at least half the year next year as well. But we'll see how that goes. For the Panthers, my team here in Charlotte, obviously they need to take advantage of that this week coming up for here in Carolina with Tyreek Hill out. But no doubt, big loss for the Dolphins. Jalen Waddle becomes the number 1 receiver. And I believe they just signed off the practice squads of the Saints, Cedric Wilson Jr., who's going to be kind of that replacement for him.
Okay, and last thing I'll ask you here is let's talk about Jackson Dart, now the new starting quarterback for the Giants.
Yeah, Jackson Dart, that boy knocked me out of my survivor pool this week, so I did not pick him at all. So the Jackson Dart, listen, he's got moxie, he's got potential. I just need to see it more. I mean, the stat line didn't exactly blow you away. He and Cam Scatterbo kind of worked together to deliver this upset win over the Chargers. But let's be honest, and I think those of you who played like Marvin would probably agree with me. Lane Kiffin's offense at Ole Miss don't exactly translate that well to the NFL, at least previously. And so I think he's got potential. Jackson, it's there, but we've got to see it more than just a one-game basis. I mean, first start's great. First win's great, but we got to see it on a more consistent basis. I think he is better than Russell Wilson at this current time, obviously, but that's not much of an upgrade there from that standpoint.
All right, last pro topic I'm going to hit you with. How do you like the way the Philadelphia Eagles play for the Tampa Bay Bucks using saunas to go ahead and replicate the warm weather? Was that brilliant or what?
That was brilliant. I thought that game was also very good as well. Tampa Bay and Philadelphia, great matchup. And I thought Baker for a second was going to pull off his 4th straight comeback there in the last second, and obviously it didn't happen. But great game by both teams.
I'm glad you could join us. We gave you rapid fire, and you gave us some real good rapid fire. So with that said, we'll go to the point where everybody has a chance to get a hold of themselves. Tommy, and like I said, Tommy will be joining us twice a month on Wednesday night. Marvin and I get him every Wednesday night, and we have a wild show, don't we, Marvin?
Yeah, we do, man. We having a good time on Wednesday nights. Come out and join us.
Yeah, and also marks the debut of JJ Metz on Wednesday night. He's my 14-year-old young pup that I met over at FAU. This kid here, like I say, in Miami, you look for NFL players, and at FAU, you look for hidden gems. And every now and then, I'll find a young prospect there that I'll bring him on my network and roll the dice. So I hope Marvin will have a chance to look at him tomorrow night, and we'll see what we have there. I have a feeling we may be onto something good, Marvin, as we continue to build a network. We're glad Ryan even popped in here at the end. So great stuff, man. Gave you 4 topics and you snapped them out. With that said, Jeremy, let everybody know they get a hold of you.
Well, before I do that, I wanted to say this is September 30th still, and it's not too late. It is International Podcaster Day. It's one of the many holidays that have been added to the calendar. So happy International Podcaster Day to everyone here, because we are on Scott's podcast. But you can find me on the SouthFloridaTribune.com with my writings under the contributor writings under the Motor City Tribune heading, where I write about the Detroit Lions, and I'm going to start getting into a few other games that are interesting to write about, such as the Packers versus Dallas coming to a tie. That was a great one to cover because I thought it was good. Because a tie did what? Oh, it moved the Lions to first place. But anyways, and then of course there's my this channel where you can find me on Fire Up every week, and I guess and a few more times on Inside the Pigskin, the South Florida Tribune. You can also find me on my channel, which is Kneecap Fighting with the Motor City Lions on YouTube. You can also find me on the Huddle Sports Network on YouTube, which is also an app on Amazon Fire Stick and Roku.
Or you'll be making more appearances on Inside the Pigskin. Did a great job tonight. I never doubt when you're on. It's just sometimes a matter of finding space for you to get on with the group that we have. And tonight it just happened to work out really well. Okay, Ryan, you know what? Let everybody know they get a hold of you. And thanks for popping on at the very end. Your insights are always important as well. So go ahead. Put your information out there, please.
Yes, sir. So I've got a Carolina Panthers podcast, Inside the Vault. You can find that anywhere you get your podcast, Carolina Panthers Podcast Network, Keep Out in Podcast Network for Inside the Vault. And then I also host a NFL podcast with Ben Troop, who is a friend of the show here as well, Winning the Division. You can find that on wherever you get your podcasts. Fans First Sports Network, Keep Counting Podcast Network as well, and then youtube.com/Tobacco Radio.
Hey, Marvin, let everybody know they get a hold of you. You're with me 2 nights a week. I'm glad to have you, my friend.
That's right. You can catch me here Tuesday nights, Wednesday nights here with Scott, Motor City, Mad Mouth. Looking forward to doing that. Marvin on the mic are my handles.
Okay, Tommy.
Go to my website, tomshanahan.report. Learn about the true stories of college football integration. There's a 3-minute teaser on the documentary we have in development. Watch it. There's information about investing, chance for you to get on the ground floor. My website, you can also learn about how to order my books. Ray of Light includes parts in the book where Jimmy Ray, the South's first black quarterback to win a national title aboard Michigan State coach Duffy Daugherty's Underground Railroad, was only the second black offensive coordinator in the NFL when he was hired in 1983 by the great John Robinson.
Okay, Candy, take us the rest of the way.
So I'm gonna do a plug for myself and my ladies, because on Tuesday nights before this show on the Chicks podcast, we have Chicks and Salsa, or 3 Chicks in a Pod. We do every Tuesday night at 7:30 p.m. Eastern. So go check us out, because we talked tonight earlier. But then, the South Florida Tribune Publishing Company published a book, Lessons from the Microphone, Tuning into the Enduring Wisdom of Visionary Leaders. It is written by our host, Scott, the Motor City Madmouth Morganroth. Talks about his 40-plus years in the media business and how it has evolved. Old school media versus new school media. Get your copy today. It's available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Kindle, Google, and Apple Books. There's also a link on our website, www.southfloridatribune.com. where there is a plethora of great content, including Jeremy, who does writing for us. So go check it out. If you like to listen to podcasts, you can find us wherever you get your podcasts. If you see the red subscribe button in that lower right-hand corner, click it, like us, share us, and then turn on your notifications so you're notified anytime we go live. If you want to advertise or sponsor one show or all of our shows, call Scott 954-304-4941. And if you want to be a guest or have topic ideas, you can always email us at southfloridatribune@gmail.com. And Twitter is @Tribune South, right, Scott?
You got it, Candy. So those of you on Twitter, please follow us, Ryan. I think you're already following us on there anyways, and everywhere. So I'm glad that you're on, and feel free to reach out to me. I think you have my phone number or whatever. Let's see if we can get you on here more often directly if you want to come on. I've always got places for you anywhere with you. You let me know what sport you want to talk about, text me, and I would love to have you on. You seem like a great person, and anybody that's affiliated with Ben and Marvin and Stephen Rice Show are A-OK in my book, and I'm just glad you were able to pop in tonight for a few minutes. So I look forward to working with you again, Ryan. So on behalf of Ryan Smith, Marvin Powell III, Tom Shanahan, Candy Ebling, and Jeremy Ballrick, and of course, Stephen Reichel couldn't be here, but because of him, I have a lot of these people. Stephen, thank you very much. And Ben Troop as well. My name is Scott Morgan, Rock the Motor City Madmouth. Thank you for joining us on this edition of the Inside the Piction. We'll have the Sports Exchange tomorrow. Marvin and I will see you then. In the meantime, have a good night, everybody, and thank you very much for joining us. And we appreciate all the participation in the chat room. Good night, everybody.